At first, it doesn't feel like chaos. It feels normal. You wake up with a tight chest. A thought you didn't invite is already there, whispering doubt. Your body reacts before your mind can speak. A shallow breath, a clenched jaw, a familiar heaviness behind the eyes. You tell yourself it's nothing. You've felt this before. You'll push through it like always. And that's how emotional control is lost, quietly. Not in explosions, not in dramatic breakdowns, but in small, unnoticed surrenders. A reaction you didn't choose. A word you regret seconds after it leaves your mouth. A decision made under pressure, fear, anger, or the need to be understood. Psychology calls this emotional hijacking. When emotions take control, the rational part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, goes offline. The amygdala, the brain's alarm system, takes over. Its job is not to think. Its job is to survive. And survival does not care about logic, long-term consequences, or dignity. It cares about now. This is why intelligent people sabotage themselves. This is why calm people suddenly explode. This is why strong people feel weak in moments they can't explain. You are not broken. You are untrained. From a psychological perspective, emotions are not the enemy. They are signals. But an untrained mind treats every signal as an emergency. Every discomfort becomes a threat. Every criticism feels like an attack. Every delay feels like rejection. And the body responds accordingly. Heart rate increases, muscles tense, breathing shortens, stress hormones flood the bloodstream. The mind narrows its focus. Options disappear. The world becomes smaller, sharper, more dangerous. This is the state in which people argue, quit, confess, attack, escape, or freeze. Most people live here. They call it being emotional. In reality, it is being controlled. The first step toward emotional control is not suppression. Suppression is a trap. Psychology is clear on this. Emotions that are pushed down do not disappear. They wait. They grow. They return stronger, often in moments where control matters most. Control begins with recognition. Noticing the moment the emotion starts to rise, not when it has already taken over. This requires slowing down something modern life trains you to ignore: internal awareness. Identify the first physical signal. Every emotion enters through the body before it becomes a thought. Anger tightens the jaw and fists. Fear constricts the chest and throat. Anxiety creates restlessness and shallow breathing. Shame pulls the shoulders forward and lowers the gaze. Your task is simple but uncomfortable. For the next several days, do not try to change your emotions. Only observe where they appear first in your body. Ask yourself silently, where do I feel this? What changed in my body just now? This trains the brain to catch emotions earlier, before they escalate. Why this works: psychology explanation. Neuroscience shows that labeling physical sensations activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for regulation and decision-making. The moment awareness comes online, emotional intensity begins to drop. You are not fighting the emotion. You are stepping out of it. But awareness alone is not enough. Because emotions are fast, faster than conscious thought. This is why people say, "I don't know what came over me." Something did. And it will again, unless you learn to create space. The 3-second gap. Between stimulus and reaction, there is a gap. For most people, it is invisible. Train it like this. When you feel an emotional surge, do not speak. Do not move. Count slowly to 3. 3 seconds is enough to interrupt the automatic response. This pause signals safety to the nervous system. It tells the brain there is no immediate danger. Stress hormones begin to stabilize. The mind regains options. This is not weakness. This is discipline. Emotionally controlled individuals are not calmer by nature. They are slower to react by choice. The dark truth. Here is what psychology rarely says out loud. Uncontrolled emotions make you predictable. Predictable people are easy to manipulate, easy to provoke, easy to distract, easy to defeat. Anyone who can trigger your anger controls you. Anyone who can rush your fear owns your decisions. This is why emotional control is not just personal development. It is power. And power begins in places most people are afraid to look. Inside. In the next chapter, we will move deeper into awareness as a weapon and how to turn emotions from masters into tools. For now, sit with this truth. You do not lack strength. You lack control over the moment strength is needed most. Most people believe awareness is passive. Something soft, something reflective. A quiet observer sitting in the background, watching life unfold. Psychology knows better. Awareness is not passive. Awareness is interruption. It cuts into automatic behavior. It breaks patterns that have ruled you for years. It exposes mechanisms that operate best in the dark. And that is why most people avoid it. Because awareness forces you to see yourself without excuses. You notice how quickly irritation appears. How easily your mood depends on someone else's tone. How often your emotions decide before your values do. This is uncomfortable. But discomfort is the entry price to control. From a psychological standpoint, lack of awareness keeps the brain running on default mode. This mode is built from past experiences, emotional memory, trauma, habits, and learned reactions. It is efficient and dangerous. Default mode does not ask, is this response useful? Is this moment really a threat? Do I want to react like this? It assumes, and assumptions are faster than thought. That is why two people can experience the same situation, criticism, silence, pressure, and react completely differently. One explodes. The other remains still, not because one feels less, but because one sees more. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates choice. Name the emotion precisely. Most people use emotional language poorly. They say, I'm angry. I'm stressed. I'm upset. Psychologically, this is vague labeling, and vagueness keeps emotions powerful. Instead, train emotional granularity. Ask, is this anger or frustration? Is this fear or uncertainty? Is this sadness or disappointment? Is this stress or pressure mixed with self-doubt? The more precise the label, the less control the emotion has. Say it internally. This is irritation. This is anxiety, not danger. This is wounded pride. Why this works? Research shows that numbing emotions reduces activity in the amygdala and increases regulation in the prefrontal cortex. In simple terms, clarity calms the nervous system. You stop being inside the emotion and begin observing it. Awareness turns emotion into information. Shift from I am to I notice. Language shapes identity. When you say, I am angry, you become the emotion. When you say, I notice anger arising, you separate from it. This linguistic shift is small, but powerful. Practice this internally throughout the day. I notice tension building. I notice impatience. I notice fear appearing. You are not denying the emotion. You are refusing to merge with it. This creates psychological leverage. The hidden mechanism, emotional momentum. Emotions feed on attention. The more you replay a thought, the stronger the feeling becomes. The stronger the feeling, the narrower your thinking grows. This is called emotional momentum. Awareness interrupts momentum. The moment you observe an emotion without acting on it, the cycle weakens, not instantly, but reliably. This is why emotionally controlled individuals often seem unreadable. They feel the emotion. They acknowledge it, but they do not fuel it. The mental zoom out. When emotions intensify, perception shrinks. Everything feels personal. Everything feels urgent. Counter this by mentally zooming out. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, in a month, in a year? Or imagine watching yourself from above, as if you were a character in a film. This activates perspective, a core function of emotional regulation. You are still in the situation, but no longer trapped inside it. The dark insight. Awareness threatens ego. Because ego wants reaction. Ego wants justification. Ego wants to feel right, even at the cost of peace. Awareness removes drama. And drama is addictive. Many people unconsciously prefer emotional chaos because it feels intense, meaningful, alive. Calm awareness feels empty at first, too quiet, too neutral. But this quiet is not emptiness. It is control returning. When awareness becomes habitual, something changes. Provocations lose their grip. Insults feel less sharp. Pressure no longer dictates behavior. Not because the world softened, but because you stopped being easily moved. This is the foundation. Without awareness, every technique fails. With awareness, control becomes inevitable. In the next chapter, we will explore the pause, the small window where emotional freedom is decided, and how to expand it under pressure. Every loss of control shares one thing in common: speed. The emotion rises. The body reacts. The words escape. The action happens. And only afterward comes awareness. I should have stopped. I reacted too fast. That wasn't me. Psychology does not call this weakness. It calls it lack of pause. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a moment so small most people never notice it. Yet this moment decides everything. This is where emotional control either exists or doesn't. Viktor Frankl described it simply: between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. Most people never enter that space. They live in reaction. Why the pause feels impossible. From a neurological perspective, strong emotions activate the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. Blood flow shifts away from the brain areas responsible for reasoning and toward muscles and survival systems. The body prepares for action, not reflection. That's why pausing feels unnatural. Stillness feels wrong when emotion screams for movement. But this is exactly why the pause must be trained, not expected. Delay the body first. You cannot stop a thought mid-flight, but you can stop the body. When an emotional surge hits, freeze your posture, relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw, lower your tongue from the roof of your mouth. These micro-actions send a signal of safety to the nervous system. The brain follows the body. Control the exhale. Breathing is the fastest way to access emotional control. Not deep breathing. Not dramatic breathing. Extended exhale breathing. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly through the mouth for 6-8 seconds. Do this twice. Longer exhales activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for calm, regulation, and clarity. Emotion slows. The pause widens. Why this works: psychology explanation. The vagus nerve responds directly to breath rhythm. By extending the exhale, You reduce physiological arousal. This restores access to higher cognitive functions. In simple terms, you give the thinking brain time to return. The silent question. Once the body slows, introduce a single internal question. What would control look like right now? Not what do I feel like doing? Not what do they deserve? Control is not about justice. It is about self-respect. This question reframes the situation from emotional to intentional. The trap of immediate relief. Reacting feels good in the moment. Anger releases pressure. Defensiveness protects ego. Withdrawal avoids discomfort. Psychology calls this short-term regulation. It works briefly and destroys long-term stability. The pause denies immediate relief in exchange for long-term power. This is why it feels difficult. Practice pauses in low-stakes moments. Do not train emotional control only in crises. Practice pausing when someone interrupts you. Technology lags. Plans change. You feel mild irritation. These moments build the neurological habit. Control is not built in storms. It is built in friction. The dark reality. People who cannot pause are easy to steer. Advertisers use urgency. Manipulators use provocation. Toxic individuals use emotional hooks. The faster you react, the less freedom you have. The pause is not hesitation. It is sovereignty. When you master it, something shifts. You speak less but with more weight. You act slower but more accurately. You feel emotions without becoming them. In the next chapter, we will dismantle one of the most powerful techniques in emotional control, numbing emotions to disarm them, and how language reshapes internal reality. Emotions grow in silence. When they remain unnamed, they blur into the background and quietly take control. They shape perception, influence decisions, and drive behavior, all without being seen. This is not poetry. This is psychology. An unnamed emotion feels absolute. A named emotion becomes specific. And specificity weakens intensity. Most people avoid numbing emotions because it feels unnecessary or uncomfortable. Some fear that putting words to feelings will make them stronger. The opposite is true. Why emotions feel overwhelming. From a psychological perspective, emotions are complex states made of bodily sensations, automatic thoughts, emotional memory. When these elements blend together, the experience feels massive and uncontrollable. Numbing separates the elements. It pulls emotion out of the fog and into structure. Concrete action 1. Replace bad with accurate language. The word bad is emotionally useless. Instead of "I feel bad," ask, "Is this guilt, shame, regret, disappointment, embarrassment?" Each of these emotions has a different cause and a different solution. Mislabeling keeps you stuck. Use neutral language, not judgment. Avoid internal statements like, "This is stupid," "I shouldn't feel this," "I'm weak for reacting." Judgment fuels emotion. Instead, use clinical, neutral language. "This is anxiety." "This is anger mixed with fear." "This is emotional fatigue." Neutral language keeps the nervous system calm. Why this works. Psychology explanation. This technique is called affect labeling. Brain imaging studies show that when people label emotions with words, activity decreases in emotional centers and increases in regulatory areas of the brain. You are not talking yourself out of emotion. You are restructuring how the brain processes it. Speak the emotion internally once. Do not repeat the label. Repetition fuels rumination. Name it once, this is frustration. Then shift attention to the body. Where is it located? What is its intensity from 1 to 10? Observation replaces amplification. The subtle shift. When emotions are named correctly, something unexpected happens. They begin to move. Unlabeled emotions feel stuck. Labeled emotions flow. This is why emotional control is not about containment, but movement. You allow the emotion to pass without carrying it forward. Write, don't ruminate. If an emotion persists, write one sentence describing it. Write one sentence describing what triggered it. Stop. Do not analyze. Do not explain. Writing externalizes emotion and prevents mental looping. The psychological truth. Children throw tantrums because they lack language. Adults lose control for the same reason, just with more sophisticated consequences. Language is regulation. Those who control emotions, do not feel less. They articulate more precisely. As emotional vocabulary expands, emotional reactivity shrinks. You stop drowning in feelings and start navigating them. In the next chapter, we will move into one of the most underestimated tools of emotional mastery: breathing, not as relaxation, but as control under pressure. When emotions overwhelm, words often fail. Thoughts race. Logic collapses. The mind becomes loud and chaotic. But the body is still listening. Psychology understands something ancient. Emotion lives in the nervous system, not in language. And the fastest way to influence the nervous system is breath. Not meditation. Not positive thinking. Breath. Most people breathe unconsciously, shallow, fast, reactive. This pattern signals danger to the brain, even when no real threat exists. The brain responds by amplifying emotion. A closed loop is created. Why breathing controls emotion. Breathing is one of the few systems in the body that is both automatic and voluntary. This makes it a bridge. By changing how you breathe, you change heart rate, muscle tension, stress hormone levels, emotional intensity. Breath does not argue with emotion. It overrides it. The pressure breath. When emotions spike, inhale through the nose for 3 seconds. Hold for 2 seconds. Exhale slowly through the mouth for 6 seconds. Repeat 3 times. This pattern signals containment and control to the nervous system. The hold stabilizes. The long exhale discharges excess arousal. Grounding through sensation. While breathing, press your feet into the floor. Feel the weight of your body. Notice temperature, texture, contact. This anchors attention in the present moment. Emotion thrives in abstraction. Control thrives in physical reality. Why this works: psychology explanation. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system and reduces cortisol levels. At the same time, grounding interrupts dissociation and rumination. The brain stops predicting threats and returns to the present. Use breath before words. Before responding emotionally, take one slow exhale. Speak only after the breath ends. This creates a natural delay without appearing passive. Calm presence often diffuses situations before words matter. The discipline element. Breathing techniques fail when practiced only in crisis. Train them daily. 2 minutes in the morning. 2 minutes before sleep. Once during mild stress. Repetition creates automatic regulation. Control becomes reflexive. The deeper insight. Many people chase emotional control through thought. They try to reason their way out of feeling. But emotion is physiological first. This is why strong people under pressure often say little. They regulate internally through breath and posture before engaging externally. This is not detachment. This is mastery. In the next chapter, we will explore reframing, how the story you tell yourself shapes emotional intensity, and how to rewrite it under pressure. Emotions do not arise from events. They arise from interpretation. Two people can face the same silence, the same criticism, the same loss, and feel entirely different things. One feels threatened, the other remains steady. The difference is not strength. It is story. Inside every emotional reaction lives a narrative, a quiet sentence you tell yourself so quickly you rarely notice it. He doesn't respect me. I'm failing again. This always happens to me. I'm losing control. These sentences are not facts. They are interpretations. And interpretations decide emotional intensity. Why the brain loves stories. Psychologically, the brain is a meaning-making machine. It fills gaps instantly, often using past experiences, emotional memory, and fear-based predictions. This is efficient but inaccurate. The brain prefers a bad explanation over no explanation. Reframing does not deny reality. It changes the angle from which reality is viewed. Catch the first sentence. When emotion spikes, ask, "What am I telling myself right now?" Do not analyze. Just notice the sentence. This sentence is the emotional trigger. Separate fact from interpretation. Write or say internally. What actually happened? What am I assuming it means? Example fact, someone did not reply. Interpretation, I'm being ignored. Control returns when assumption is exposed. Why this works, psychology explanation. This technique engages cognitive reappraisal, a proven method for emotional regulation. It reduces emotional reactivity by altering meaning rather than suppressing feeling. The brain calms when meaning shifts. Replace absolutes. Emotional narratives love extremes. Always, never, everyone, nothing. Replace them with sometimes, right now, this situation, I don't know yet. Precision weakens emotional exaggeration. Choose the most neutral explanation. Not the positive one. Not the defensive one. The neutral one. Instead of, they're trying to undermine me. Try, there isn't enough information yet. Neutrality restores balance. The quiet power of reframing. Reframing does not eliminate emotion. It reduces distortion. You feel, but you see clearly. Emotion stops hijacking identity. The deeper truth. Uncontrolled emotions often come from unconscious loyalty to old stories. Stories of rejection, failure, being overlooked, losing control. Reframing breaks loyalty. You are no longer reacting to the present through the lens of the past. In the next chapter, we will confront emotional triggers, how they are formed, why they repeat, and how to dismantle them at the root. Most people believe action should follow feeling. They wait to feel motivated. They wait to feel calm. They wait to feel confident. Psychology calls this emotional dependency. And it is one of the main reasons emotional control collapses under pressure. Emotionally disciplined individuals operate differently. They do not ask, "How do I feel?" They ask, "What needs to be done?" This is not suppression. This is hierarchy. Emotion is acknowledged, but it does not lead. Why mood is an unreliable leader. Moods fluctuate based on sleep, stress, memory, environment, physiology. They are unstable by nature. If action depends on mood, consistency becomes impossible. Discipline removes emotion from the decision-making position. Separate feeling from function. Say internally, I feel and I will act. Example, I feel anxious and I will speak clearly. I feel angry and I will remain measured. This creates dual awareness. Emotion exists, but behavior is chosen. Build non-negotiable standards. Emotionally controlled people operate on rules, not impulses. Decide in advance. How you speak when angry. How you respond under stress. What behavior you never allow from yourself. Standards reduce emotional negotiation. Why this works: psychology explanation. This engages executive function and weakens emotional dominance. The brain shifts from limbic response to structured behavior. You stop asking permission from emotion. Practice action in low motivation states. Do small actions when you don't feel like it. Speak calmly. Finish a task. Maintain posture. This trains independence from mood. The internal shift. Discipline does not remove emotion. It contains it. Emotion becomes background data, not instruction. You stop oscillating between extremes. The quiet strength. People sense this stability. They feel it in your presence. You don't rush. You don't over-explain. You don't react impulsively. This is emotional authority. In the next chapter, we move into emotional control under conflict and pressure, where everything is tested. Most people believe action should follow feeling. They wait to feel motivated. They wait to feel calm. They wait to feel confident. Psychology calls this emotional dependency. And it is one of the main reasons emotional control collapses under pressure. Emotionally disciplined individuals operate differently. They do not ask, "How do I feel?" They ask, "What needs to be done?" This is not suppression. This is hierarchy. Emotion is acknowledged, but it does not lead. Why mood is an unreliable leader. Moods fluctuate based on sleep, stress, memory, environment, physiology. They are unstable by nature. If action depends on mood, consistency becomes impossible. Discipline removes emotion from the decision-making position. Separate feeling from function. Say internally, I feel and I will act. Example, I feel anxious and I will speak clearly. I feel angry and I will remain measured. This creates dual awareness. Emotion exists, but behavior is chosen. Build non-negotiable standards. Emotionally controlled people operate on rules, not impulses. Decide in advance. How you speak when angry. How you respond under stress. What behavior you never allow from yourself. Standards reduce emotional negotiation. Why this works: psychology explanation. This engages executive function and weakens emotional dominance. The brain shifts from limbic response to structured behavior. You stop asking permission from emotion. Practice action in low motivation states. Do small actions when you don't feel like it. Speak calmly. Finish a task. Maintain posture. This trains independence from mood. The internal shift. Discipline does not remove emotion. It contains it. Emotion becomes background data, not instruction. You stop oscillating between extremes. The quiet strength. People sense this stability. They feel it in your presence. You don't rush. You don't over-explain. You don't react impulsively. This is emotional authority. In the next chapter, we move into emotional control under conflict and pressure, where everything is tested. Conflict is the ultimate test. It strips away routines, comfort, and certainty. It exposes raw nerves. It forces emotion into the spotlight. Most people fail here. Under pressure, the brain reverts to old patterns. The prefrontal cortex shuts down. The amygdala screams. Reason disappears. Words betray intention. Actions betray character. Psychology calls this stress-induced regression. Every uncontrolled reaction is a replay of unresolved fear, anger, or trauma. Emotionally disciplined individuals, however, use pressure as a mirror. Conflict reveals weaknesses, both in others and in themselves. Pressure shows the cracks in attention, patience, and control. The difference between losing control and mastery lies in preparation and awareness. Anticipate pressure. Before entering high-stakes situations, visualize potential triggers. Pre-plan responses. Mentally rehearse calm reactions. Preparation reduces surprise, and surprise fuels emotional hijacking. Anchor through the body. Under stress, ground your feet. Relax your shoulders. Slow your exhale. These physical anchors prevent the body from escalating the fight-or-flight response unnecessarily. Use micro-pauses. Even a half-second pause before speaking creates power. It interrupts automatic reaction, signals control to your nervous system, adds weight to your words. Small pauses under fire are often more impactful than speeches. Why this works: psychology explanation. The brain cannot respond emotionally and rationally at the same time. Anchoring and pausing allow cognitive functions to remain online during stress. This transforms reaction into strategy. Observe, don't engage emotionally. During conflict, practice listening fully, not reacting to provocations immediately. Separating facts from interpretations. Observation creates space where action becomes intentional rather than reactive. The psychological insight. Pressure amplifies habitual patterns. If control is habitual, pressure reinforces it. If chaos is habitual, pressure reinforces that too. Emotional mastery is therefore not only about technique. It is about training under calm to withstand chaos. The hidden reward. When you remain steady, opponents lose leverage. Colleagues gain trust. Your own mind gains clarity. Mastery under pressure signals inner sovereignty. In the next chapter, we will conclude with the ultimate form of emotional control, quiet strength and lasting motivation, turning knowledge into personal power. The journey through emotion is dark. It begins in chaos, the pounding heart, the racing mind, the helpless surrender to feelings that seem larger than you. But mastery is possible, not through suppression, not through avoidance, not through wishing emotions would disappear. Mastery is awareness, discipline, and intentional action. The person who controls emotion is not emotionless. They are sovereign. They feel deeply, but they do not merge with every surge. They act thoughtfully, even under pressure. They transform inner turbulence into clarity, purpose, and strength. The final principles of emotional mastery. 1. Awareness first. Recognize what arises before it overwhelms. Observation creates choice. 2. The pause is power. Between stimulus and reaction lies sovereignty. Even a single breath can change the outcome. 3. Name to disarm. Language structures reality. Naming emotion reduces its dominance over thought. 4. Breathe to regulate. Breath is the fastest path to influence mind and body. Controlled breathing restores calm instantly. 5. Reframe to liberate. Your story shapes your emotion. Change the narrative and intensity drops. 6. Discipline over mood. Action is not dictated by feeling. Action dictates emotion. 7. Predict, prepare, practice. Emotional triggers, conflict, and pressure are inevitable. Prepared minds prevail. Concrete action, daily sovereignty ritual. Each day practice. 3 minutes of deep awareness, body, thoughts, feelings. Identify one emotional trigger and observe without reaction. Execute one task despite reluctance or emotional discomfort. Reflect on one situation where pause or breath prevented reaction. These small acts compound into unshakable control. The psychological truth. Strength is not absence of fear, anger, or sadness. Strength is the ability to act wisely in the presence of them. The mind learns through repetition. The nervous system learns through experience. The body learns through anchoring and breath. Combine them, and you do not just survive the chaos of life. You navigate it, you shape it, you rise above it. The motivational vision. Imagine a life where criticism no longer wounds instantly. Anger no longer dictates speech. Fear no longer paralyzes action. Every emotion becomes a signal, not a command. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You are the master of your own mind. Emotional control is the ultimate freedom. It is quiet, subtle, almost invisible. Yet it creates outcomes far stronger than aggression or impulsiveness. Your power is not in dominating others. It is in dominating yourself. Every choice, every pause, every controlled breath, every reframed thought compounds into a life where strength, clarity, and purpose are constant companions. The darkness at the beginning is gone. You have moved through the storm, through the fire, through your own inner chaos. And now in this calm, deliberate mastery, you find your true power. You are steady. You are aware. You are free. And freedom is the greatest motivation of all.